This is Zorina Dimitrova, trainer in business with meaning. I combine personal development, personal growth, and strategic thinking. And I'm here with tolee. Welcome, tolee.
Hello, thanks for having me here. It's nice to see you, Zorina.
Nice to see you too, tolee. Tolee is also a strategist, and he has such a diverse background that I can't even start describing it. But today we're going to be talking about personal development, although he has a lot to tell about the art of transformation, about personal strategy, business strategy, about branding, e-marketing, e-commerce, whatnot. You can check his profile, I'll put the link below. But okay, personal branding. It makes me think now about all the people that would need to compete either for new jobs or to keep their jobs. On one hand, what does personal branding have to do with keeping your job? And the other thing is all the people that are going to be jumping out right now and how personal branding can help them take their career to a new direction.
Actually, it's quite simple. But as we grew up in a society which likes to make everything complicated, we think it's complicated, but actually personal branding is something we do anyway. The difference is if we do it with intention, because everyone has a reputation. And that's actually his personal brand. What we think of this person, if we have met that person, if we have worked together, if we had a conversation, it's what kind of feeling we have. Can we trust that person for the promises that person is giving? And that's actually what personal branding is, to establish a name in an industry, in a niche, where people, I like to refer to that being famous to the family, as my teacher said, Godin likes to refer to it. It's not about being the next Tony Robbins or Gary Vaynerchuk. It's about being famous to the family, people who need to know who I am and what I'm doing in the industry, in the city, in the country, in whatever market everyone is in. And actually, one thing is doing bold promises and keeping them. And the other thing, which is the most difficult part, is having integrity. Actually being authentic, being yourself. So as you said, it's about now the fear, keeping the job, staying alive in my business as a freelancer. Well, it's not only for freelancers, personal branding, it's also being an employee. The goal is not to keep your job. The goal is for you to have inner peace and to be happy. And maybe you don't have to keep that job.
Right. Okay, let's jump directly into this option where you maybe don't need to keep your job, but maybe take a different direction. How do you start building your brand if you decide to start a business or your own practice?
It's with your values. What's important for you? What makes your heart sing? What kind of people do you like to work with? How do you like to collaborate with people? And here are no rights and wrongs. I mean, there are people who like it more casual, have a lot of fun while working, to be more chaotic, which is okay. They can accomplish much more in that environment. And other people like it more strict, more organized, more distant with others, and that's okay as well. So once we find our space and it's not about being comfortable, but where can I perform my best? Once I define that, then attract business relationships, but not only, who are willing to also work in that context. And this reflects on the tone of voice, how I'm communicating, how I'm describing my profile on LinkedIn. And most people, what they do is they want to fit in. What would they like about me? What would they like to read about me? But it's vice versa. Who am I? It's presenting yourself, who you truly are, and there will be a match. Once, that's what's missing out there, actually. Authenticity, presenting, demonstrating really who you are, speaking up, and then finding this match. It could be an employment, could be a contract, could be whatever, but that's exactly what's missing out there. Authenticity and being your true self, and not trying to fit into industry jargons like it has to be described in that title and it has to be in this type of tone of voice, which is for me nonsense.
Yeah, this directly relates me to the course that I gave last month that I told you about. It's called the Other 96% Mind and Situation Programming. It's mostly based on the Silva Method. And when I started offering this course at first, and I thought, what am I doing? This is such an esoteric, as they define it, course. And before that, I was teaching Start a Business with Meaning, which only had one module out of 11 that had to do with the Silva Method. Everything else was a bit more practical, more psychology, more down to earth. And at the end, half of it was a lot of business. So I thought, how would I even introduce this to my social contacts? I mean, what would my friends say? And I went through the same type of thinking, you know, but it was only momentary, I have to admit. It didn't take me long until I realized, well, it doesn't matter because this is what I am. If they don't like it, that's fine. They don't need to buy it from me. And it's, you know, they can decide what they want to think about me. It's something that I practice, that I have confirmed to myself that other people enjoy it, they have results with it. So why not offer it just because somebody's going to say she's become a woohoo?
Yeah.
Right?
That's I mean, the fear that drives a lot of us to be rejected or someone to judge us. And I think, and it's also a really fine line. On the one hand, being really yourself and speaking in your true language. On the other side, the hardest thing about a professional is talking about the job you do. Because you leave all that stories aside. I mean, you have all that connected dots, how you ended up here. I mean, I did a lot of stuff from 3D to motion graphics to programming to coaching. And I mean, if I make a list, it's a lot of things. I could call myself generalist because I'm curious about, but I cannot describe it in one paragraph. So once you leave, you cannot describe that and make a point to someone who just you meet. So here it's really a fine line to be empathetic, to really see how other people see you, what expectations they might have from you, but at the same time being yourself, not tapping into being someone else in order to be able to meet that expectations, because then it's a mismatch. And then you might build a personal brand, but to be honest, success nowadays is not to have a job or to have a career that is built on worldly success, but it's mostly about how you feel about what person you are demonstrating there to be. And that's, for me, very important. I've coached a lot of people who had worldly success, but were unhappy. Exactly because they couldn't maintain their integrity.
Right. I mean, very often they have downward pressure from their bosses that stops them from having integrity. As a matter of fact, it's they're pressurized from the environment, and although it seems they have great positions, even people at very high positions, they have downward pressure.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what do you think is the role of your appearance? Because lots of people say, you know, it's the first thing that people see. So how do you teach this in personal branding?
It's actually not the first thing that people see, because before they meet you, they have checked you out. I mean, nowadays with social media, unless, I mean, it's a conference and someone introduce you, but even that person who introduced you, that person tells a story. I mean, it can say, look here, it's Zorina from Vienna, or hey, you have to meet Zorina. It's a different story.
Right. Yeah.
So this is personal branding. So it's not trying for me to connect with people who look beneficial for me. But if I'm myself, I'm 24/7 myself. Doesn't mean if it's someone who's in the internship, a student, a CEO, doesn't matter what kind of level. And there's a famous quote, I cannot recall it now 100%, which says, I see who you are in the way you treat people, even the waiter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for me, then your reputation enters the room before you enter the room. They ask about you. They have heard something about you. They looked you up on Google, on Facebook. So they have a sense, and it's okay if it's not a match. It's okay if they see your profile and say, that person, I don't really like that person. He's too an extrovert.
Mm-hmm.
He likes to party a lot. It's okay if that's your personality, then probably you shouldn't go to work to a place where that is not accepted.
Mm-hmm.
There are other workplaces where they say, yeah, we want human beings who are like that. So that's for me very important, to just express yourself, no matter what that is.
Mm-hmm. So what is, I'm thinking now of all the pressure from social media to look a certain way, to follow a certain narrative, to talk in a certain way, even in terms of let's go get it, or overly motivated.
Yeah.
Something that in the real world doesn't really apply. So when I'm, for example, trying to build my personal brand, and I follow these guidelines, which are usually advised by the gurus in the sales industry. You're supposed to do this to come up in a certain way, to activate, to motivate, things like that. And it moves away from the authenticity, as you said. But then what other way is there to connect to people that doesn't, if you're naturally not an outgoing and an extrovert person, and you're supposed to show yourself out there in the end, how do you do that? How do you show your personal brand if you're naturally introverted?
I don't believe that there is such a thing like introverts and extroverts. I believe we are ambiverts. Mm-hmm. That means that in certain circumstances and in specific environments, we feel more comfortable. And it's not about being in our comfort zone. It's about being in our zone. I mean, you can, if you have an actor and he's not good in singing, and you bring him on stage, he will be on, his zone is acting, not singing. Mm-hmm. It might be also singing, but not everybody can sing. And that's, if you find where your zone is, go there and act and play. This means find communities you're interested in and contribute to that communities. It could be fishing, it could be bowling, it could be whatever. Because, I mean, it's not only entirely business, right? We have, every one of us has interests. We follow people, we follow the same people. Go check the conversations, connect with people there. And once you have common ground, common interest, you open up. Because you feel seen, you feel heard. Because it's not about business, it's not about I want something from you, but it's about let's connect because, hey, you have a nice lamp there. I have the same lamp in my office. This, let's say, I don't have it, okay, but this is a reference, like, let's talk about the lamp. It might be something, it's a starting point. Mm-hmm. And there's something that is really not talked a lot, it's social capital. It's the sameness. And I like to say this often in Greece when I do some seminars. It's, imagine you go to New York, to Manhattan, and you don't speak English very well as a Bulgarian, Greek, or whatever, and you come out the metro and you're lost. subconsciously you will go to a person to ask for the way who looks like you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that you're a racist. It's not that you avoid other nationalities, Chinese people, Afro-American people. It's not, it's, you look for sameness. And now imagine you meet someone who's from Bulgaria or meet someone from Greece. This is social capital. This means, hey, you're from Greece, without knowing me, just knowing. And imagine now he's from the same village that I am. We might end up drinking tsipuro at the taverna in Manhattan just because and that's sameness.
Yeah.
And we can look for sameness in social media very, very, very easily. And even in business communities, business groups on LinkedIn. And that's what we have to look for, this sameness, because in communities, there is no competition. There is contribution. In the open market, there is competition because everyone looks like, I mean, everyone wants to try to fit in. There's competition. But if you go to smaller communities where they have a meaning for what they do, there is nobody will judge you for if you speak English well or not so well. It's about your willingness to contribute. And even if that's just asking questions, generous questions, I mean, you're welcomed in such communities. And that's how you start. Because I don't believe really cold calling or cold emailing, just sending out emails. And I mean, this recruitment process of sending out a CV doesn't really work anymore so well. There are other ways.
At higher positions, it doesn't work. For me, actually, it has never worked. I've never gotten a job simply by getting a CV. It was always by somebody introducing me first, before the entire process of interviewing and, you know, just to get the wheel going. But it really, sometimes it depends for what kind of positions, but in my case, it never really depended. Even internships I've only gotten via people.
Yeah, and that's why also a lot of companies now have these programs where if you refer a friend and they hire them, you get a bonus, which I think it's, this bonus for me personally, it's not the right incentive because it's not about the sake of hiring someone. It's about creating a working place where we spend 8 days a day together with people like us, so we can perform at a higher level. And it can only be done if it's modern corporate culture and we feel safe there. And I mean, okay, everything nowadays is counted with profit and money, and obviously this works, giving that kind of incentives. But I mean, look, even if that's not the case, I mean, if you have someone who think is a great fit at the company you're working with, this person has established a great brand. He might not even be active on social media, but it's like in every relationship. I mean, there's a nice talk from Simon Sinek when he says, how can I make a woman fall in love with me? And there is not such point like do this. It's all together. Saying good morning to your neighbor, being kind to people. I mean, you never know. I mean, a taxi driver might give you, be the next connection for your next big hit, if you're open to that. And if you perform always high every day, you put on your smile, not a fake smile, but because that's who you are, then opportunities will pop up.
Yeah, we have a saying, do what you, I did my best and the rest God will do, or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's also going into an interview. It's not about getting that job in an interview. Our job is to be ourselves. That's the only job we have. Because I mean, going into an interview and not getting the job, my role might be to inspire the recruiter, tell a few things that made them rethink because they had a bad day or their kid is sick. And I mean, it's not only about getting a job and getting our bills paid. And I mean, it's much, much bigger picture. And I think the only job we have is to be our true selves. And that's the only, for me, success is accomplishing to be as often as possible your true self during the day, during the year, in personal life, in business, and then everything else falls into place magically.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it does, and I've experienced that. But I also know a lot of people who are living month to month and paycheck to paycheck, and so they're thinking, okay, fine, but I understand all this, but I still need to get this job just to.
And that's the thing. You don't need to get that job that you don't feel nice. I mean, there are many jobs. I mean, maybe it's better to, I mean, we have here down the place Domino's Pizza. If you have to pay the bill, I mean, there's nothing spiritual about not paying your bills. I mean, every job is a fine job. If you need to find a job to pay the school or something, it's fine, but it shouldn't be against your vision. It's not getting a job that puts you down, drowns you. Find an environment that is motivating, that you have, and it can be working at a cafe. It could be being, I mean, we don't have Uber here, become an Uber driver for 3 months. I mean, there are a lot of opportunities to get your bills paid, and then building on your career, on your dream, or your freelancing business, or your own bootstrapping business, whatever that might be. There's not one way or the other way. There are a lot of combinations you can do during that journey.
Yeah, I'm thinking about all the people that I've interacted with, and at the first instance, everybody's asking me, well, how long will it take me to do this, or to be able to accomplish this, or how long will it take me to manifest this, or in this case, or how long will it take me to create and build my personal branding? And it makes me think, now that you talked about social capital, there was something about friendship it was I think a philosophical research or analysis done on why are certain friendships more stable, and especially friendships that were built during your childhood. It is especially because of this social capital that you have built over time with these people. So even if you hadn't seen them for 20 years, this capital is in the bank of this friendship, so you can still draw from it. But when people ask you now, okay, how long is it going to take me to build my personal brand, to achieve whatever I want to achieve? I know you just explained the opposite, but how would you address this question then?
There is no end goal to build your personal brand. You have your personal brand. The moment you ask that question, like how long will it take, it's coming from a state of lack,
right?
A state of I am not enough. Yeah. So this means you're putting out, call it the universe, or you're communicating with other people from a state of I am not enough. Mm-hmm. So you will never reach with that state a point where you say, now I am enough, I can go for that high position. This will never happen. Mm-hmm. So if you don't dwell already in that energy field of who you really are, you will subconsciously sabotage yourself. Right. So there is no time where because what we have also been taught until now, it's you need to have something like a diploma or certificate in order to do something so you can be someone. Life happens actually the opposite. You be, according to that you do, and then you have. So every single time you do things out of luck, out of limiting beliefs, this will reflect to yourself what you actually believe to be. You can have 1 million followers. If you think you're not enough, you're not beautiful, you have a stupid accent in talking. I mean, look, Schwarzenegger. He became governor of, it's not, he didn't have to learn English well in order to succeed, because he had that state of being. And not from an ego and a selfish way of thinking he's something special. No, he just didn't believe these limiting thoughts. You don't need anything. You don't even need any social media account in order to have a personal brand that can succeed out there. I know several people in Greece who are not present on Facebook, on LinkedIn. And during the crisis in Greece, the past 10 years, they were stable. They had their clients. I mean, they didn't become but everyone else was struggling around them, pushing on social media and advertising and this and that and changing their profiles and their titles. And he was just himself. And people appreciated that. And they wanted to work with that guy because he was who they saw. No hidden agenda. So it can happen really, really fast. Really, I mean, it can happen overnight. It can take you 10 years, and we often underestimate what we can build in 10 years. We want a quick fix. We want now in the summer after the quarantine, I have to build my personal profile and I have to land my dream job. Step by step. Step by step. In 10 years, you don't know where you're gonna land. Start with, and that's why I say personal development is key here in order to build a personal brand that will make you proud.
You need to find yourself first before you can
yes
put yourself out there, right?
Because you will have a lot of times where even if you have some breakthroughs, you will go back to your old belief system. You will not trust your success. You will maybe say, oh, I'm not worth it. Somewhere subconsciously, that's why I'm saying subconsciously, a lot of people sabotage themselves. Even I had myself a lot of breakthroughs during my career, and then subconsciously I sabotaged myself and went back, because it isn't that I wasn't ready. It was just I couldn't identify those thoughts that were sabotaging myself, bringing me down in energy, believing I'm not enough yet. I have to make this workshop and that, and other people have this PhDs and that, and who am I to do this, and who are you not to do that, actually?
Yeah, a famous person I spoke to before I started Heal and Learn told me, oh, you know, before you go into this business, you need to have written a book, you need to have developed, I don't know how many courses and stuff like that. And I said, no, well, I don't have a book yet. I haven't developed courses yet, but I'm starting nevertheless. So there are different paths for different people. It's not like this is the way you're supposed to enter either the coaching business or whatever other business.
Yes, there is no, I mean, you can get inspired by others, but never follow the footsteps of others, because this is not your path. I mean, your path is your own path, and most of the time it's a dark path. If there is light, probably it's not your path. Somebody else built the road already, which doesn't mean that it has to be hard. It doesn't mean that you have to struggle. It's just having awareness how the rules of the game, which is called life, are played. And I have one experience, as you said, having all that. You need a lot of followers, or you need diplomas and a book. I remember one breakthrough I had. It's called a workshop, online workshop called Breakthrough. It was a 30-day workshop, which was actually, I switched on my camera, went live on my Facebook page. Back then, I had 2,500 likes or something like that. And I honestly spoke to people how I feel and how I think they feel. And that's why I want to build this program, which will be for 30 days. We will talk about this and that. We will have these exercises. And without having a landing page, without having even name, people in the comments already said, I'm in.
Yeah.
They sent me messages. I'm in. Count me in.
Yeah.
And previous workshops I did, I advertised them. I published them here, did guest blogging here and there. It didn't happen like that, because it was just a moment of being aligned with my true self. So it's not an advice, go out there and just speak up. It requires a lot of
synchronicity, because you need to be aligned also with the timing. You don't always feel this way where you can open up and share.
But we have a lot of times like that, but we don't trust them. I mean, everyone, I think, had moments in her life or his life where he said, "Oh, I knew that will happen." Or, I mean, intuition, it's not a gift. Some people some have it more, some less, but every human being has intuition, which is not the same like instinct. Instinct is basic instinct, survival instinct. Intuition is something else. And we have that. We have a certain drive. Something is calling us into certain. It's from inside, but we don't believe it. It's like this. I said before. We think we are not enough.
There were the Bogumils and the Cathars and this movement that back in the day believed that the society will be a divine society if everybody would do whatever they were meant to do, if they followed their purpose. So if society was organized around everybody's unique talents and their purpose, and then everybody would serve in the best possible way everybody else in society.
And life gives you so many hints. I mean, call it universe, call it God, Allah, whatever stands on the door of everyone. We get the hints. It's not to whom universe is speaking, it's who is listening. And every time I do the questionnaire, which is about career orientation, I'm not telling anyone what they have to do. It's written in their words. It's just like a puzzle, like a riddle, just asking the right questions, and then they see it from a different angle. Yeah, I knew it all the time. Every single person says, I knew it from the beginning, that this is it, but they didn't trust it. So they have to see it crystal clear. And it's not a thing. It's not like you have to become a coach, or you have to become a politician or a designer or I don't know what. It's not a title.
Yeah. It's the thing that they're supposed to do. It's not I understand. It's not the title, but it's the direction in which.
Yes. I mean, you can be a waiter.
Yeah.
And change people's lives much more than a coach. Just with your presence and your smile and your kindness. I mean, it doesn't mean that if you feel that excitement with touching other people and making them smile, that you have to become a coach. You can become whatever. You can be a taxi driver. You can a pilot. It doesn't really matter what you do. It's who you are while you are doing it. That's more important.
Thank you, Tole. Lovely talk. Is there anything else that we've missed for now on personal branding? I mean, we can extend it forever, but I think.
Yeah, I mean, I can advise people not to ask how to do something. It's never the how-tos. If you don't buy the initial idea of who you are, no how-to will lead you anywhere. It's like, a how-to is like watching a documentary. Right. How a lion eats a buffalo. You will never be a lion. I mean, it's interesting to see how someone succeeded. It's inspiring, but you will never follow this.
Right.
So you need different kind of questions. And most of the time it's really simple. It's not complicated. Complicated is the work of the ego. I mean, the true self is really simple. It's aligned. The truth is simple. Everything else fades away like cutting through the fog.
Wonderful. So how can people find you? Corporations can find you on grownlearn.org, but how can individuals that want to discover their purpose or get aligned with their truth, how can they find you, and what can you offer them?
I can offer a discovery call, first of all, where we can see who they are, who am I, if there is a match. And then it really depends, because for me it's also important that matching, working with people, not only on a personal level, but in general, is for me very important. So I answer all my emails, all my messages myself. So whoever has questions or feels inspired or wants to learn more, reach out. It does mean that we have to work together. I mean, I'm open also to calls, to chats, to for me, this is what I do. Is not I don't distinguish between personal and business integrity. It's all me. I mean, and I see it as my life work. I'm a student of life, so I'm happy to meet anyone on that and have that kind of discussion. As I said earlier, if there's sameness, if someone says, "Hey, this clicked to me. What did you mean on that phrase?" I wouldn't charge per minute to talk about that. I mean, I'm passionate about talking about those things. So whoever, I'm really grateful about someone challenging me, even saying, "Hey, I don't agree with you. I think it's that way." Great. Let's hop on a Zoom call and talk about that.
Yeah.
That's how I operate usually.
Great. What is the name of your website again? I mean, I'll put it under the...
Yeah, it's tolee, tolee.eu. Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much for this.
I thank you for having me here, and hopefully we will have a
continue again.
Continue again. Yeah.
Repeat.
Yes.
Great. Thanks a lot, Tole.
Thank you.